what's up everybody? It's David here from Tough Guys TV, and on this episode we have something really cool to share with you. First of all, you're probably wondering why I'm staying in the bathroom and not out in the shop. In this episode, we are going to be installing a new bathroom vanity, and for this video we're going to do things a little bit different. Right now I already have the vanity installed, so we're going to start off just showing you guys what exactly we put in and highlight some of the great features about this unit. As always, we'll have a link down in the description where you can pick up this in particular bath vanity, as well as some links to a few of the tools that you'll see featured in this video. All right, let's get right into it. Go down here and we'll check this out. Links to social media if you'd like to see what else Tough Guys TV has going on. Let's get started. All right, first of all, we got this vanity off of Wayfair, and again, there'll be a link down in the description for you to check this one out. Now, there's a few really great features that I loved about it. Number one, we have our plumbing coming up from the center of the floor. So for us, I needed to make sure that the vanity that we purchased had enough offset to where I could cut the holes, which if you hang around for the entire video, you'll see how we go through that process. Now, the second thing I really loved was the barn door assembly on here. I just think it adds a really nice look, and it also has a ton of storage on the other side. The hinge itself is super great, and they also included some little pads so that when the doors shut, you're not getting that wood to wood impact. Now, the next important thing we were looking for was a quality countertop, and this one actually has a porcelain top with a great finish on top of it. It's going to be highly durable and easy to clean, and it just looks really great in the bathroom. Now, we were able to find a great deal on a faucet as well. This Kohler unit, we actually have an unboxing inside of this video so that you can check out the exact fixture that we bought and installed. It is super smooth, it doesn't make any noise, easy to install for the most part. There's a few challenges, but again, if you watch the install video, you'll see all that stuff happen. Overall, we are super happy with this vanity, and I definitely recommend it to anybody. I know there are some preconceived notions about these type of prefab units and that the quality can be subpar, but I can tell you from experience with this one in particular that it's great quality. It's definitely worth the money. If you're in the market for a bath vanity, check this one out, link in the description. Now, if you're interested in seeing the full install, stick around for the rest of the video. We go into detail on every step of the way that we go through on this thing, from unboxing it, through modifying it for the plumbing that's in the floor, as well as installing the top, installing the fixture, and installing all the plumbing, everything. So thanks so much. Let's get right into the rest of it. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do really fast is unbox this giant box. Now, this thing is humongous, so I had to clear some space in our living room in order to be able to do this. All right, let's open it up. And here on top, it looks like they had a small little thing. I'll put this stuff to the side so we can look at it closer, and also some instructions. And it looks like right on top, they've got another big box here. Okay, so this is the top with the sink that's built in, and it's kind of upside down. So let us try to pull this out. Silica gel packets. And it looks like underneath is the actual vanity. So what I think I'm gonna do next is I'm just gonna cut the box at the corners and just separate it from the side of this. And I mean, obviously I can't lift this out of here.
If you save this stuff, you can pause it and you can also karate chop it like this.
I got all that excess styrofoam out of there where the sink top came out of. And then I cut down this side here. Opens up pretty easy. I think I'll be able to slide this out now and get it in the room so we can take a closer look. Pulling it out, not so easy. Be ready to make a mess, but it's worth it because the actual unit itself is pretty much 100% assembled, other than the top, which I'm guessing in the instructions they're gonna have a quick path to success for you there. Here is the cabinet. Let me get this mess cleaned up and then I will show you guys what we're working with. All right, so we've got this thing set out here. The hardware for that they actually put on the inside of the door, which is actually a really good idea to ship it, and it's already installed. You just gotta take those screws out and flip it around. But we wanted to try it out with Memphis here to see how tall he is with it. Show him how you think it'll work. Nice. All right, here's that vanity that we built a couple years ago. Had the vessel sink, and it was kind of an odd build because the plumbing in this room came up from the floor. I'm assuming this is something to do with how it was built a long time ago, but the goal is to take this out and put the new one in. But I will have some challenges with the new one because of where the plumbing comes in. And that's one of the most important things I want to show in this video is how you deal with this situation. We're going to show you how to do it. We've got the old vanity moved out of the way. And remember, the supply lines and the drain come out of the center of the floor. Most likely in your house, they're coming out of the wall here. I'm gonna show you how I marked off on the new vanity where I need to make a cut to show where you would bring this through. And I can give you some tips. If you do have a similar situation and you do need to make a cut, I can show you how you need to do that. The first thing I did was use my iPad to mark off where I needed to actually make the cut. All right, we're on the back side of the vanity now. And what I did was I marked off where those holes need to cut in relation to the vanity, the way it's gonna sit in the space. I used some painter's tape here to help protect the finish as I drill through and actually cut out the shape of the jigsaw. So basically what I used here was a metal ruler. I had a speed square to use this side as square. You can see where I made my 2 marks. And then I just transfer the 2 squares onto the surface. Now for this bottom one, I'm actually gonna flip the vanity upside down and cut from the underside. And then on this side here, I'm just gonna cut from the top with the jigsaw. It's gonna be a little tricky to get over into this corner, but that's what we gotta deal with for our install. So let's get started on that. All right, we've got the vanity upside down. I taped off the square onto the bottom side of it so that I can drill through, make some holes, and then cut this first square out with the jigsaw. Using a drill driver, set to the drill setting, and I've got a 5/8 inch bit. All right, those 4 holes are now drilled, and the key there is to just go slow, let the drill bit do the work, and don't shove that thing through there on a super high speed. You will blow it out even with having the tape on there. All right, next up, we're gonna use the Skill Jigsaw. This is the PowerCore 20 lineup. We should have a video on the channel very soon, if not already when you're watching this. And that jigsaw takes the T-shank type blades, and this is just a clean cut wood blade from Bosch. And it came in a kit like this. Now this should hopefully illustrate the reason why you wanna have these pilot holes, because the blade can now seat right through there. You can see the blade is through that hole now, and now I can get a good starting point to go ahead and cut this square shape out. So a nice clean line there. And again, this tape really does help keep this from splintering out. Anytime you've got this MDF type product that has a coating or paint on it, it's super important to have that tape there. All right, so this is the hole in the bottom. You see the tape sticks to that pretty well, and it helps keep a real clean line on the cut. Now you're still gonna have a little bit of breakage because it's a coating on MDF, but other than that, I think it works pretty well. So we've got the first cut. Now we gotta flip the whole vanity over and do the cut through the second tier, and then we'll be ready to set this in place and at least size it up. And there's the hole on the second level, right above the hole on the bottom. So now we are good to try and get this thing set in place and make sure everything lines up. All right, it took a little bit of doing, and we had to adjust the lower hole just a tiny bit bigger, but everything fit and everything is through. Obviously, we're gonna be working in tight quarters to get everything connected there. So for the next step, I'm going to go ahead and unbox the faucet, show you which one that we decided to buy, and let's look in the components and make sure there's nothing else we need to go run to the store to pick up to get everything hooked up and ready to go. All right, before we move on to the next spot here in the process, let's unbox this Kohler Rubicon. It's a 4-inch centered bathroom faucet, all one base. Pretty cool. Should look really great on this vanity. So we've got some instructions. Looks like right away it's telling us what we need for supply lines. This is the drain assembly that goes into the sink. Got a couple of components here. Ooh, and that has a really nice look and feel to it. Very, very, very nice. Very happy so far. And they went ahead and marked the cold side in case you didn't know. And that's our pull stop to plug up the drain. All right, now let's get this back inside and start putting everything together. All right, I went ahead and test fit the top, test fit the faucet, just to kind of get a feel for everything. I think it looks pretty nice. So now with that in place, I can at least measure out now, well, I didn't have to technically put that, but I'm gonna measure out how long those supply lines need to go all the way through down here to the bottom. And I'll refer to the instructions for the sizing that's gonna work right on this one. Now for a couple quick notes before we put the top on, they did include these little pads, and these are for the sliding door. We'll put those on here in just a sec. They basically just stick on either side so that you don't get this hard sound when you shut it. They also included for these little, for the shelf, and those are rubber coated, so they're nice and grippy. So now we can set that other shelf piece in place. And with those rubber pieces on there, this really stays sturdy. It doesn't slide in and out or anything like that. So with having the little drawers that move, it's super nice to have that rubber piece on the end of these. And here's the baskets that they include with everything. And you can see these slide pretty free without that thing moving at all. And that's pretty nice. And then I did go ahead and stick 2 of these on either side of the door, one up high and one down low. So now you still hear the thud here, but you're not getting the same wood to wood there. So that's really nice to see. They want you to secure this to the wall. Now, if you didn't have solid shiplap like this, you'd want to make sure you're finding studs, but in our case, we don't have to worry about that. The last thing I want to do before I screw this in is I'm going to test fit the top one last time just to be absolutely sure everything lines up where I wanted it. That's actually about as tight as I can get it back here, but with that piece out of the way, I think I can do a nice, cool wood backsplash that might tie into some of the other features in the bathroom. I've got this wood piece down here by the tub. I feel ready to go ahead and set this now. I'm going to take this off, screw it to the wall, then we'll put a bead of sealant underneath this and set it back in place. And for me, I've got some 3-inch Power Pro screws here. These are coated exterior screws, but they're the only ones I had that were 3 inches. And I'm gonna install these with a nice washer on there to help spread that out. Now, I don't want to snug these too tight. And in fact, I'll be able to adjust them if I need to make sure the top is completely level once we get it set in place. Now the next step here is I'm going to lay a bead of caulking right down here on the front. This part here has like a pad, so I'm just going to put some sealant there. That's going to help keep the top in place. And for that, I've got this all-purpose White Lightning 3006 quick dry. It's great stuff, dries super fast. And then don't forget your DAP cap to keep it protected and not drying out when you're done using just a tiny bit. Now the next thing I'm going to do is get the faucet set in place. The instructions say to go ahead and insert the pull rod first. And then this is your gasket that you want on there. And I'm going to be inserting this with that foam pad side facing down towards the sink top. There we go. The next step before heading underneath the sink is this is the drain assembly. So they want us to get this kind of preliminary taken apart. So we're going to unscrew the top. This piece comes out, and this is the piece you're going to take underneath with you. And then this piece comes out as well. And then here is the part that actually fits down into the drain there. And what we want to do is put a little bit of plumber's putty underneath this. It kind of has the consistency of almost like a Play-Doh to make this into a long enough piece that I can spread it around the edge of that drain. And I probably got a little bit too much on here, but I'm going to put this in there, and when I tighten it down, the excess is going to kind of squish out for me. Now keep in mind, I also need to tighten down each side of this from underneath, but I didn't want to jump back and forth because shooting underneath this thing is going to be hard enough to show you guys what's going on. So now that this is in there, if I press a little bit, you can see how it starts to squish out the excess, which you can just roll up and take out. So I'm going to wait on that, come back to it when I hook this up. Let me get set up down here underneath, and I'll show you what I've got to do with this. All right, you can see those are both on there tight, and they should be good to go. Now, the next step here, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and start working on how we're going to work on this. Now, currently, this piece here is a little bit too tall. The drain, I need to have room to do an S-trap as this goes directly into the floor. So my plan right now is to cut this down a little bit. And I had one of these adapters out in the shop, which will fit on an 1.5 inch pipe, and it has a threaded top on it to tie in to the S-trap assembly. So to cut the PVC, you can use a simple little saw like this. This is one by Lennox. That's a Lennox. I think it's used for cutting metal as well, but I cut a lot of PVC pipes with it. So there's that pipe cut off. I'll get all this mess cleaned up and we'll get it prepped. We've got our purple primer to clean this joint before we put the cap on there. And here's our PVC glue. All right, we left that to dry here for a little bit and it should be good to go. And then remember, this piece here is the part that's gonna go up underneath and thread into the bottom of that drain. All right, now that I've got that tightened up, I can kind of see what I'm working with here. and I can cut this a little shorter if I need to. Now I want this piece facing towards the rear because that's how I'm gonna tie everything into this. Now the first step is to put this stopper back in on the top side. This little locking piece off, and then I'm gonna insert this with the ball into the back side of this guy right here. So what I'm doing there is making sure that it's actually in the stopper. Now this little piece here, you loosen this and you tighten it down onto the piece that's coming out of the top of the sink, the actual pull rod, and then you're gonna hook this into it. All right, apologies on that last part there. It's kind of hard to show. So basically, the ball piece goes into here, which feeds into your stopper. This piece, which locks into this, which ties into the pull rod, which tightens with that little bolt right there. That one, which is just about impossible to get to. But if you have it set up right, this should be open. When I pull up on that, it closes. And that's what I want. So when I pull up, it closes. When I push down, it's open. And there's some of that plumber's putty you can see. Just kind of clean that away now that we've got it tight and it's good to go. All right, the next big focus here is to get this drain assembly installed so that we have flowing water. Here's a picture of the bag of the components that I did pick up from the store for floor connections S-trap. All right, so on this end, I've got a gasket and I've got my locking nut. Okay, so here is a rough assembly of the way this thing is supposed to look. Now I've got this super tight on itself there, and you can see I've got this piece kind of buried down in, and I cut it a lot shorter, but I have it down inside the drain a little bit. Everything's just kind of loose fit right now, so that way I can size it up. Now obviously before I put this threaded piece onto this pipe, I would need to thread a gasket and locking ring on there. So now you can notice that that kind of holds that in place for you. Same kind of situation down here. All right, so you ever tried to do something that was supposed to be easy, but it really wasn't easy? That wasn't very easy at all. That was actually very, very difficult. I've got stuff all over me. Let me show you what I ended up with for this drain. All right, back down in the pit of despair. So I've got the S-trap here. This goes down. I found a flexible piece that I had from another project, and thank God I had that because these two pieces were just not lined up. Now what you're seeing down here is I added another coupler because I'd already put this on, and then I needed to basically drastically reduce the height of this pipe in order to make everything work. And then I went ahead and got my supply lines on because just looking at the amount of space I have here, this would have been basically impossible if I had waited until this was in. These are screwed on. I've got my excess up top here ready to go. And the drain is all assembled. That is what you're dealing with. So on some of these type of projects, you just have to kind of be creative with what you've got here. And if you get to a point to where you're absolutely unsure, don't risk having a leak. Get with a plumber and find a solution that works for you. All right, everybody, I was not able to get a good shot on this, and it was extremely difficult to get that far supply line in. There is a piece of the cabinet right here that kind of arcs up that doesn't allow me to use my rigid tool, the extender, up in there. So I had to use a pair of needle nose pliers, and it just took forever to get it tight enough. I also had to disconnect this and reconnect it in order to get it in. Now everything is good to go. That was a pretty difficult task. So if you are a novice to this whole thing and you actually have to reassemble an entire setup here, then I would definitely recommend, study our video, of course, but engage with a professional if you need to for some help here to make sure you don't mess anything up. All right, and that wraps up this video and this install. I hope that it helped you, and if you're in the market for one of these bath vanities, hopefully this is the one that you choose because it is really awesome. It's great quality. A lot of times these type of vanities get a bad rap, and look, I'm sure there are some out there that are not great, not good quality, and I've installed some of them myself and they're not. And this one is just not that. It is good quality, it's a good solid build, and it's a fair price. Check it out. We got links in the description to everything that you need to know. Thanks for watching this video, links to social media. Come hang out with us and see what else we have going on, and we'll see you guys in the next project.